Hello, friends. This won't be a long live. I, I, I just want to talk to some of you a little bit. I want to talk to you how we feel when we've been wronged, when evil seems to succeed, when someone does you dirt and seem to get away with it. It galls most of us. I think possibly the only people it doesn't bother are people who are just as bad as that evil person. Let's say, I'll give you an illustration. I was on my way to work. I don't know, maybe 15 years ago or more. And this character was flying down the road and he didn't stop in time and hit my car. He gave me fake insurance information and then was gone. I ended up having to pay the deductible. I can't talk straight, excuse me. Hopefully more people will begin to join in. Paul, glad to see you. But this character, he rear-ended me, and that doesn't sound good, does it? Anyway, there's a car accident, okay? And he gave me fake insurance information, and so I thought everything was kosher. And of course, I didn't realize he didn't write down his license number, either the plate or his real driver's license. And he was gone, so I ended up paying for the accident. How do you handle when you have been done wrong and somebody gets away with it? If you live very long, you do find yourself in some situation where you're seeing somebody evil take advantage of you or take advantage of someone else and get away with it. The thing that bugs me most is not seeing a cop on the road, but not seeing a cop when somebody's doing something really bad, going 100 miles down the freeway or clearly intoxicated. And of course, that's not the fault of the cops not being there. It's just how things seem to work out so often. And, sometimes I like watching cops, the show, because it feels good to see the bad guy get his just reward. So how do we handle it? For a lot of people, this last election is so galling because an evil man seems to be getting away with his crimes. And it's very difficult. Let's face it, none of us like it when we are taken advantage of or when we see evil succeed. How do we handle that? Now, I've told most of you who know me know that I study for the ministry. I preach a whole bunch of sermons. So this has a little bit of Christian note to it and the Bible. If you're an atheist, this may not help you at all. But for many of us, I find solace in the Bible, particularly the one chapter, Psalms 37. Now, I'll go read a little bit of that, and hopefully that will help you. And as far as any comments, I may or may not get back to them. The fact is here, and friends, if you're seeing someone being rude in their comments, saying something really nasty, or clearly a troll, just click on their name. When you see their account, just go up to the I think it's the right top side. You'll see a little arrow. Click on that, and you have an option to block them. Block them, and then just pop back here and forget about them. They're not worth your time. And the same thing, if someone from either side is just being really nasty and hateful, go ahead and block them. It's not worth getting yourself upset. And what I want to talk about is it really galls us when we see an evil man or we hear lies, like someone trying to say, oh, the Democrats went too far to the left. I'm sorry, the Democrats have not moved at all. Democrats are where they've been for over 100 years. The only people that have moved are the Republicans, and they've moved to the far right. And maybe we look like we're farther to the left because you have moved further to the right. Anyway, I want to quickly read you. I'm going to use a New International Version, and I'm going to read a little bit of this. It says, do not fret because of evil men. Do not be envious of those who do wrong. For like the grass, they will soon wither. Like the green plants, they will die away. Trust in the Lord and do good. Dwell in the land and enjoy safe pasture. Delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your hearts. Now, here's the thing, my friends. It's so easy to get caught up on and focus on how bad they were. Remember, Trump will eventually get his. If not by human hands, by the hand of God. Now, maybe, like I said, maybe you're an atheist. Maybe you don't believe there's a final judgment. But for many of us, evil does get theirs. Now, sure, there's a chance that he would totally repent and become a new person. And I'm going to tell you something that might surprise you, especially if you're one of these Trump supporters. I would love to see that happen. I would love to see him say, I did bad things and I'm trying to be a whole different person, unfortunately, by the time you get to your 80s, you're not very likely to do that. A friend, I don't know who said that, I don't misuse the Bible. I am a true Christian. Anyway, it says, commit your way to the Lord, trust in him, and he will do this. He will make your righteousness of your cause shine like the dawn, and the justice of your cause like the noonday. Be still before the Lord, patient before him. Do not fret when men succeed in their ways, when they carry out their wicked schemes. Refrain from anger and turn from wrath. Do not fret, it only leads to evil. This is what I want to get at here. I got an email from a real good friend, and he was saying, I won't use the actual things because that would cause trouble here. But the two things that almost happened or may have happened. Some think they were fake. I don't know. Anyway, he was saying he was hoping somebody else would come along and succeed. Don't even wish for it, okay? Obviously, don't plan on yourself to do it, but don't even wish for something like that. You see, when you want evil to succeed, and you plot evil or you dream of evil, and having something like that succeed would be evil, you become evil. It's like I used to tell the guys at work, the company was cheating us and was stealing from us legally. So there was little recourse we had. But I would train new young guys. I'm 67, so I've been on this old earth for a while. And I tell them, yes, the company's stealing from you, but if you steal from them, you won't be getting even. All you'll be doing is creating two thieves, two crooks. Now, you may say, well, he's so bad. That only makes you just as bad. We have to try to keep hate out of our hearts. And especially if you call yourself a Christian, I'll refer you to 1 John chapter 3, verse 15. And the gist of it is this: if you allow hate in your heart, you're not a Christian. You do not have the eternal life living in you. Now, I know many people claim to be Christians, but they don't live it. They don't shine through with it. On one of the old message boards I used to frequent, it's no longer there, there was this one woman. Oh, she would talk about her Christianity all the time, but disagree with her political views. She could cuss you out like a drunken sailor. And when one time I was speaking to her, as you can tell, I try to be polite, always try to be polite, even when you're rude. But she started in with her profanity and nastiness. And so I just simply said to her, sister, one day I would love to introduce you to Jesus. Well, she got a little ticked off at me at that. But you see, we used to sing the song based on the scripture. It said, they'll know you by your fruit. If you're filled with hate, you're filled with jealousy, and you're filled with repeating lies, like assuming that one party is righteous and one is not. Let me say this and say it again. I say this many times. There are saints and sinners in both parties. Remember, Donald Trump used to be a Democrat. And many of the evil things he did it as when he was a Democrat. So before you go to thinking, oh, you got somebody really good. But the problem is, we got somebody evil in there. Now, what will I do as a Christian? I will pray for him. I pray God will one evangelist used to say, yeah, he'd pray for someone to be blessed with a brick into the head. And he'd say, no, that's wrong. Shouldn't do that. It's very tempting, especially when you're mad and you feel that evil is succeeding. It just isn't. It isn't that way. And Chuck, you're wrong. You're wrong to be judging and thinking somehow that we Democrats. Why did I become a Democrat? Why did I leave the Republican Party when I was a young man? Because I got involved with the Republican Party and I saw some of the corruption firsthand, the lying, the willing to hurt people. And I looked and I said, this isn't for me. This isn't the right party for me. And where, like I said, there are saints and sinners in both parties. But I found a lot of the purpose in the Democratic Party more aligned with my beliefs. Helping the poor, feeding the hungry, trying to put houses for the homeless, and working for the downtrodden. These were the messages that Christ taught. And that's why I am a Democrat. But my point here is, it's very easy. We see an evil man. And many of us feel that something wasn't right in this election. And I'm not a conspiracy nut, so I'm not going to get here and say, this happened, that happened. We read reports. How true these reports were, I don't know. But we saw reports where ballots were printed up, already checked for Trump, and people were pulled off the voting rolls. There needs to be an investigation of all these irregularities. Sometimes I get tongue-tied. Please excuse me. But now, here's a tale for you. If Republicans resist an investigation by a nonpartisan organization that tells you they know something's dirty there. Doesn't mean it's as bad as we might assume. Because a lot of us thought, back when 9/11 happened, and George Bush was resisting having an investigation, the conspiracy theories got really wild. Some said Bush even planned 9/11. But you know what it came out when it finally happened, why he didn't want to have the investigation? He'd been warned that Al-Qaeda was a real threat and to be on his guard, and he focused more on a tax cut, and it slipped through. He was embarrassed because he missed the signs. That's what it was. He didn't plan anything. People assume the worst always. If you want an example, take a new job, and when people ask you what you did before, tell them, I don't want to talk about it. My last 10 years, it's nobody else's business. I don't want to talk about it. You will have the most wildest gossip going on about you. You were in prison. Maybe you were a mass murderer. All types of crazy things because people assume the worst. But if there is, and there should be, every election should have some investigation, maybe pull 5 states out of, put all the names of the states in a hat and pull out 5 of the states and then do one of the big counties, do an investigation to see, does everything jive? And if you start seeing things state by state, maybe you need to recheck everything. But let's say we go through and we find that something really dirty happened. It's not going to change the outcome. We're stuck with Trump for the next 2 years. You say, but he was elected for 4. Next, in 2026, Republicans will be in danger of losing the Senate. Very strong chance. The deck was stacked against the Democrats for the Senate this time. We knew this going in. But if the Democrats can have a big blue wave, which may happen, especially if predictions are true and Trump gives us another recession with his hyperinflation, you can bet there'll be a huge Democratic win. Then he's a convicted felon. Even if he pardons himself, he has still been a convicted felon. And that is the most just cause for impeachment. It wasn't just a just cause to impeach Bill Clinton for getting a BJ, but being a felon, yeah, we can impeach him, and if we've won enough in the Senate, gone. Now, you may say, well, how about J.D. Vance? Well, I don't agree with J.D. Vance's politics, but at least he doesn't strike me as an evil man. Strange, and maybe, who knows? Sometimes people can surprise you. But anyway, I'd rather have him in there for those last 2 years than Trump. Because like we said, Trump is an evil man. And whoever you are, I said Trump won bigly. I'm sorry, friend. He did not. He barely won. You know what? Hillary Clinton beat Trump by a much bigger margin than he won. If he really did win, there's suspicion that he may not have actually won. But anyway, the point here is not to hash out whether it was legit or not, because we're stuck. Okay, even if we can go through, unless we go through and we do a check and we investigate all the states and we go, wow, Kamala really had a landslide win, beating Trump by like 80%. Then maybe something could happen. But let's face it, friends, that's not going to happen. So we're stuck with Trump. So how do you handle it when an evil man succeeds? Don't fret. Don't let it get to you, because there is a day of justice, not far off. There's a way. Things do work out. Mark my words that Trump will, his fruit will, an apple tree does not produce oranges. Okay. He will show who he is. And if he falls through, we will have good cause, and he will blow it. Now, here's the thing, though. We have to each be cautious, because we have 12 to 18 months where we're still in the Biden great economy. You say it wasn't great. No, it was actually really good. The problem was you had Republican CEOs jacking up on prices on everything in the stores. And then you had real estate moguls like Donald Trump buying up houses quick and then jacking up the prices and reselling them, making it harder to get a home, and buying up big apartment complexes and jacking up rents. And then you had what's known as They call them venture capitalists, but they're actually, we call them vulture capitalists. And what they do, they'll go, I've seen this happen to a couple companies I work for. They'll have enough money to buy a small little company, but that company owns all its property, all its equipment. After buying it, they turn around and they sell everything they can and then lease it back. Now, in the long run, this is far more expensive, but it gives them a quick cash flow. They now have all the money back that they used to buy that company, and they use it to buy another company that is in the same good condition, and they do the same thing. They got it, get all the money they can, and then they lease everything back, and then they take and get another company, and they get a bankroll going and going. So finally, when they got a big enough bankroll, they declare bankruptcy and walk away. And people lose their jobs, lots and lots of people. That's what vulture capitalism is. They're sucking the life out of it. And here's what really galls me about it. Men and women work hard to build up those companies, put their life's efforts into making a good company that would have their name on it for 100 years afterwards. I think of Sears as a good example. You know, some of you may be so young you don't realize there used to be a man named Sears. But no, there was not a man named Kmart. But take Walmart, you know, the Waltons, you know, and they work to build a company, and here somebody comes in just like a vampire and sucks all the blood out of it. How do you handle when evil men succeed at this way and you're the person that suffers? You have to calm down and know just because you lost one battle, that's not the war, and you fight on. But how do you fight? Okay, let's assume that we're pretty sure that they cheated. Not saying they did, okay? Don't any of you get upset, but let's assume they did. Do we then turn around and cheat ourselves? No. If we do, we're just as bad. And see, good can beat evil, but we got to be smart about it. And we got to realize that it needed to be addressed, and it needed to somehow stop the gouging at the stores. And let's face it, Democrats failed to do that. We should have made hay over it. We should have screamed from the top. President Biden, though he was working hard and he really turned the economy around and repaired the damage Trump did the first time, but he should have been doing fireside chats, been on the internet, using things like this TikTok to talk to all of us every week at least. And he should have been denouncing. He should have been saying, Kroger's, you're jacking up the price and ripping off your customers. Stop it. I'm going to do what I can, but maybe I can't get this through the Congress. But I'm calling you out and demanding that you stop this ripping off. Sadly, he did not do it. You know, sometimes they say it's because we try to be too much of nice guys. Sometimes I learned this as a kid because you see, my stepfather did what was known as job shops for the aerospace program. That meant that they might have a year's worth of work that they needed to get caught up. He was a technical writer, and once all that work was done, the job would end. And so he would do that, and then a couple cities over, there'd be another job shop. So we were constantly moving. It was like a different school every year, sometimes 2 different schools in 1 year. That meant I was always a new kid. And I learned quickly when the bullies came around, you know, dear sweet mom, I would try to say, just talk rationally to them and let them know you're a good person. Don't try to fight them. I found out the only way you can reason with a bully is after you've given them a bloody nose. And that's what I began to do. And a group of kids would come around to try to bully me. I knew I couldn't take on 5 of them at once, but I'd wait and I'd catch each one alone and I'd beat the crap out of them. And afterwards, it didn't take long for the word to get around. Don't mess with that kid. That Sicilian temper, it kind of is hard to get around. Democrats got to learn being nice, but carrying a big stick. When someone, and I'm not advocating violence, by the way. Okay, let me get that across. I know that sounded like that, but I'm not advocating for violence. But there is a time when you need to be in the face of evil and saying, no, if I got to give you a bloody nose, I'll give you a bloody nose. If I got to take you to court, I'm going to take you to court. Whatever it takes to stop the evil. And I love Joe Biden. He was a great president. He's turned this country, he's done so much good for this country. So many people were suffering because of Trump, and he has improved the situation. And people are going to be suffering because Trump, as I explained in other videos, what Trump wants to do, cutting taxes on the wealthy. That's what was done that caused the Great Depression. That's what Reagan did, causing the recession there. That's what George W. Bush did, caused the recession there. And when the Great Depression happened, they not only cut taxes on the wealthy, they also imposed massive tariffs on everything. And that gave us a Great Depression. If Trump follows through on his promises, and some are predicting he won't, but if he does, this is not just going to be inflation, my friends. It's going to be hyperinflation. You think groceries are bad now? Wait till you want to go get an avocado and there's a tariff on it and it costs 5 times as much. Some of you will say, oh, you're crazy. It's not going to happen. Okay. Mark my words. In a couple of years, when the next election comes around, if Trump's follow through, I'll be here saying, told you so. But here's the thing. Forget about me being able to say, I told you so. Because I don't need to pump up my ego by saying, yeah, I was right. I don't need that. That's not who I am. Excuse me. Don't have a cough button. I went down wrong. Anyway, I want to warn you because for the next 12 to 18 months, we're in that great economy that Joe Biden created. And it's also possible that some of the gouging will back off just to try to make Trump look better. So you're going to be tempted to go spend. And you're going to tell yourself, hey, everything's rosy. Mark my words. If he's cutting those taxes, it's going to be followed by a recession. It always happens that way. It's happened each time. And the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. That we will be hit with a recession because of it. But plus the fact we'll be even deeper into debt. I really believe that promise he's going to come through for his rich buddies cutting their taxes. That may be the only thing he keeps. But if he does, we'll just have a recession. Maybe a mild one. We can hope for that. You see, here's the thing. Some people say, well, why wouldn't you want it to be real bad and so the other side gets theirs? The thing is, people suffer, and I don't want to see people. I don't care if you voted for Trump. I don't care if you're on here calling me a dumb libtard or using racial slurs towards my Italian heritage. I don't want you to suffer. So what I'm saying, for the next 12 months to 18 months, if you have a chance to take a second job, take it. Bank the money. Hold on to it, because the recession's coming, and you might not be working or not having as many hours come by the time we start getting into the Trump economy. Remember, Trump inherited a thriving economy from Barack Obama. And there's this rule that for the first 2 years, a new president is either riding the wave of success or failure of the last president. So for the first 2 years, Trump was riding the wave of the success that Barack Obama had given him. Then the Trump economy began to come in. I got the chart up there, which we've shown before, of how up and down it went with Trump. But then it began to dip, and we were on the downward trajectory because of Trump's mishandling of the economy. And then he was given warnings about COVID from the intelligence agencies months and months before any of the rest of us were ever told. And he hoped he could just write it out and it wouldn't happen. And it would disappear because he was scared and didn't know what to do. And because of him ignoring that, 1 million Americans died. And then it hit so hard that instead of the recession just getting a little bit worse, it crashed. If it hadn't been for Joe Biden, we would be in another Republican Great Depression right now, like the one they gave us a century ago. So I love him. He's done a lot of good. He should have been a little bit more aggressive. And had he, I think we'd be talking about either a second term for Joe Biden or a Madam President. And I've heard some awful things from some people, hateful things towards women, towards minorities. You take evil into your heart and hate into your heart, your fruit is going to be rotten, and what you're going to get back from it won't be good. You reap what you sow into this world, and you will get yours. And again, I just want to say, take a deep breath. And there's one in this Psalms 37. There was one point in it. I suggest reading it all. If you're feeling bad tonight, get on the computer or your smartphone and just do a search of Psalms. And it's, in case you don't know, it's possible some people don't know, Psalms in the Bible is spelled P-S-A-L-M. I know that's not how it sounds, but the P is silent, so it could throw you off. So it's P-S-A-L-M. But Psalms 37. And when you see it says Gateway Bible Gateway, click on that. It has a whole bunch of different versions. Click either the King James or the New International Version. I'm not wild about the New International Version, but it puts it really well. And what's nice there, it has a a audio version where you just click that and it'll read it to you, and just sit there and listen. And one of the things it says, the writer, I think it was David, said, "I've been young and now I'm old, and never have I seen the righteous forsaken or the children begging bread." Let me tell you, I'm 67. I've started businesses and I've closed businesses, and I've gone through Republican recessions. There was times when, boy, I didn't know, I'd run out of money until the next paycheck, and I didn't have any money for food, and I didn't know where it was going to come from. And I just had barely enough money for the gas in the gas tank to get to work. And I pull up with just maybe a couple dollars left, and to buy maybe something like rice or something to just try to, so I wouldn't have to go hungry for a couple days. I'd open the car door. Right at my feet would be a $20 bill, a 10 or a 5. One time, 4 $50 bills. Then I finally was working 2 different jobs, about 80 hours a week, just to make ends meet. And I was fortunate enough to land a Teamster job and started making good money, and then was able to invest. You want to know something interesting? That incident of opening the car door and finding money right at my feet, it happened a whole bunch of times when I was really in need. You know what has never happened? Never happened since I started making good money? Opening the car door and finding any money at my feet. Never. Now, maybe you don't believe in God, okay? I can't convince you, but for me, that was God watching over me. Be right. Don't give in to evil, and everything will work out. Trump will be gone, and we will recover from the damage he does. Yes, he will be doing damage, so be prepared. And let's say you're a Trump supporter and you're telling me I'm full of beans, that it's going to be great. Okay, if you take my advice, work that second job and you save that extra money, and the economy keeps going good for 4 more years. You know what? You're going to have a heck of a good bankroll going. And then you can come on here and say, well, I took your advice, but I didn't need it, but now I have a lot of money. Thanks for the good advice, and thank you to Trump. And you can rub my nose in it, but you will be okay. You see, what I'm trying to do is help you. I'm not trying to argue with you and belittle you. And I put the fact Trump is an evil person, and all you have to do is look at all the horrible things he's done. Just what he did to that poor 13-year-old girl at Epstein's. And I won't go into a lot of details on that, but remember the name Katie Johnson. But one day, justice will catch up with him. But for me, I want to be on the right side of justice when I receive what I have been dishing out. And see, I try to do good in the world all my life, helping others, and I'm now doing fairly good. You know, I have to watch money like everybody, but I'm doing okay. Give you a good example. Earlier today, I was splitting more wood. I have a wood stove in the house, and if anyone has seen some of my videos, I live a little bit out close to the Mount Hood Forest, about 30 miles east of Portland, Oregon. And I got trees all over the place. So any of the CO2 that I'm releasing through my burning this wood is absorbed by all the trees around here. And the funny thing about Oregon is we got so much rain that it washes out a lot of the pollution. In college, I was talking to one friend saying, well, at least there isn't pollution up here like there is down in California. And he too was from California. And he said, oh, there's air pollution here. It's all on the ground because the rain washes it out. So that's one of the good things about this area. Anyway, I got enough that I burned a bunch of wood like I'm about to end, and I didn't turn the heat out here in my library. So if you haven't noticed, I'm kind of shivering a little bit. But anyway, this offsets the cost because we use propane to heat the house. Got a big propane tank like most of the places out here in the country do. And that's saving money. And give you another example. You know, yes, they're gouging you at the stores. I went in, I love eggnog, and it's one of the nice things about this time of year. You know, eggnog, liquor free, of course. But I go in, $6 for a half gallon. You know, I could afford it. But I said I'm not going to. I don't need it. And if I wanted to bad enough, I can buy some milk and make my own. As far as eggs cost, hey, I got plenty of friends and people I know who have chickens. I can buy eggs locally for cheaper than I can get them in the store. And guess what? I'd rather do that and give the money to a friend than to give it to some greedy jerk trying to rip me off. There's things you can do. You know, I go in, I see something's overpriced. I'm not going to buy it. You don't have to buy everything just because you want it. It's a high price. Another example, like I said, Kroger's been ripping people off, and Kroger's owns Fred Meyer's here. Fred Meyer's is like a one-stop. I love their stores, but they've been jacking things up. Mom still likes Coca-Cola, so I needed to pick up more Coke for her, and I go in and they wanted $10 on sale for a 12-pack, and I said, "Forget you, Pally." And I went over to Safeway, and lo and behold, it was on sale there. You bought two for the regular price, and you got two more free. That meant that it came out to like $4.50 for a 12-pack instead of $10. I said, okay. So I bought like four or more and brought them home. I'm stocked up. You see, if they're going to try to rip you off, you say no, and you go find some place that is more reasonable, or you just don't buy it. I don't have to have eggnog. It's fattening anyway, and I'm trying not to gain weight as I'm in retirement, not working as hard as I used to. But you don't have to. In the same way, just because you're receiving evil or you're seeing evil, you don't have to fight evil with evil. You can be the better person. That doesn't mean you have to just take it and not fight back. We can fight back without being evil and using evil to win. Anyway, my friends, this is about all I'm going to say for now. I hope what I've said will help some of you. And do if you're feeling down about this, do the search, like I said, for Psalms 37. Remember, it starts with a P, and the P silent, 37. And when you see Gateway Bible, it has a whole bunch of different translations. No, it's not biased one way or another politically, at least nothing I've seen. And it will just read it out for you, so you can sit there and just kind of meditate on it, and you'll feel the weight lifting from you, and it will help a lot. I hope that helps. Yes. Love does win. You were so right, my friend. Love does win. And that some people can do so many bad things, and it's so often. No, whoever calls himself SM. My books aren't just for decoration. I've read most of them. Now, these ones here, they're Bible commentaries. And this set of commentaries runs you about $1,000. Now I think it's almost $2,000. In college, I wanted them so bad. Like I said, I was studying for the ministry. And I love books. One of my professors really got me hooked on it. I can't wait till I get my remodeling done. And so, because my library will be almost twice the size, so I can get all my books out of storage, because the books are the answer. And nothing solves an argument better when someone's trying to tell you something and you pull out a book that's an authoritative documentary and you say, this is what it says. This is what was meant by the person, what the person meant by this one term. And it shuts them up and it wins the argument. Nothing can surpass knowledge. I'm 67 and I'm getting closer to the day I will leave this earth. And my biggest regret will be I will die knowing how much knowledge I have yet to learn. I love learning more information. And if I ever get to the point of Alzheimer's takes my mind, I hope the doctors gives me something that I can just check out. I don't want to live as a vegetable with no mental facilities. As typical for my age, I have a little bit of pain that I go through, but I'd rather suffer physical pain and have my brain keep working good. Now, my great-grandmother lived to be in her late 90s. My father's in his late 90s now, and still sharp as a whip. So I have something good to look forward to. But knowledge is very important. Anyway, everybody, I've talked long enough. Thank you, all of you, for listening. And I hope I've helped some of you. And I don't care if you voted the other way. I hope I helped you too if you follow the advice I've given you. Because we do have tough times ahead, because a recession is coming, my friends. Mark my words on that. It'll be 12 to 18 months till we start seeing the first of it. But depending on what promise he keeps, how severe it'll be, it's hard to tell. But it's coming. Now, of course, if he keeps with what President Biden has been doing, it won't. But the likelihood of that is not very good. Anyway, have a good one. And whoever just wrote Evil One, temporarily maybe, but in the long run, evil loses. Okay, I didn't want to go further. I wanted to call it quits, but I got to tell you this. This may annoy a few people. Like I said, I studied for the ministry. That meant getting degrees in theology. And a lot of people don't realize in the book of Revelation, where it talks about the 666, that spelled out Nero in the different languages. Remember, the Romans used letters for their numbers. And it spelled out Nero. I don't remember just whether it was in Greek or in Hebrew or Latin. I don't remember just how it worked out, but it spelled out Nero. Now, why Nero? Because if you've studied any history, he was a very vicious, mentally sick individual. And to tell you the truth, he made Trump look like a real pussycat, a nice guy. Okay, he did things like Rome burned, and people were accusing him of having set the fires so he could do his big palace construction and some of the intervention buildings he wanted to do. So nobody knew much about this new religion, Christianity. And being they were meeting in secret because Jewish leaders were going after the early Christians, nobody knew what was happening and what they were about. So Nero blamed the fires on Christians and started the persecutions. Not only, you've all heard about Christians being fed like to the lions and stuff. Well, they would take them in the arenas and many would be thrown in there and people would watch as the beast would tear them to pieces. And if that wasn't terrible enough, some of the Christians they would take and wrap them in animal skins. They're all alive, mind you. The Christians were alive, all wrapped in animal skins, and the heads perhaps were showing. And they soaked the animal skins with oils. And then as everything was beginning to start, they set it on fire like living torches. Imagine yourself there, being burned alive. Can you imagine the excruciating pain? And then some people cheering because they thought you were the evil. There was a fear that Nero was going to come back to life and start all this all over again. That's where it talks about one of the heads of the beast having died and coming back. And the message was, fear not, do what's right, because in the long run, we will be victorious. Now, the victory wasn't quite as dramatic as the author envisioned, because, it has color to it and it's a story to try to encourage people without getting you in trouble if you had this copy of this. Just imagine, any of you watched that movie Red Dawn, where back in the 80s, the Russians came in and they in the movie they conquered the U.S. and that. Imagine that had happened, okay? And the communists were still in charge of Russia at that time, and you could not, if you were on a street corner or an app like this, saying that they would get theirs and to hold on, be a patriot, and that you would just disappear. But somebody might take and write a book, supposedly written by George Washington. It might say, we're getting beaten right now by these evil redcoats, meaning the British. But take heart, friends. We will overcome. We will beat them. And then, like the Battle of Saratoga, which was the turning point in the Revolution, George Washington writes, this fake George Washington, mind you, we're beating the redcoats. Have heart. And then the end of the book, I've just been sworn in as the first president because we have defeated those redcoats. We were victorious. Thank you for holding on. Obviously, anybody reading it would realize the redcoats was really referring to the Russians, because we used to call them the Reds. That was a type of code that the book of Revelation is written in, and its message is that you will overcome. And it happened that way. No one foresaw that Emperor Constantine would become a Christian and the persecution would end, but still, it then became safe and even popular, and some argue that Constantine actually corrupted Christianity in this. But anyway, my point is, evil might succeed temporarily, but eventually good and righteousness marches on to victory. You all have a great night. Thank you for putting up with my babbling, and I hope I helped some of you. You have a great night.